My name is Mark Rubin, and I'm a dream weaver. I hope these widgets help you weave your dreams. This story is about scaling empires. In this case, I suppose a business empire, but any empire, they all work the same way. And I observed this by walking around on old roads around the world and modeling how they were laid out, the architecture of these things. And I talk about that on a couple videos before this one. But this one's specifically about scaling businesses. This was around 2008. In 2007, I'd gone to Peru with a bunch of guys that are now my business partners and were my business partners in 2008. We bought our first business together, which was in New York, Got Junk Business franchise. We realized that there are economies of scale in every business, but in this business in particular, the junk business, because it's so simple and it's easy to centralize certain things and make the business more efficient. Also, in this group, partnership group, we're all good at different things. So that's good to have a collection of people that together are better. You know, the whole is better than the sum of the parts. So we decided that together we were going to continue scaling this franchise concept together and see how far we could take it together. And I've always felt more like a watchmaker than an entrepreneur, mostly because I don't enjoy the sales process. And I think to be a really good entrepreneur, for the most part, is there's a component of sales. Is I don't like I mean, the word is convincing, but like, I don't enjoy sales. I like just to say how it is. And if someone agrees, great. And if they don't, like, I don't like to have counter arguments. Like, I've learned I've never been successful in my life convincing anyone of anything ever. I've never seen anyone convince anything ever that they didn't already believe in advance, or that they authentically agreed with in the end. They usually just give up. But I have seen people help people reach new conclusions. And that's really what sales is. And I don't like that. This is not fun for me. So given all that, I never really felt like an entrepreneur, more like a tinkerer of watches, because of the way I visualize business systems in this spatial way. It looks like machinery. And so in this case, in 2008, my partnership group and I, the same guys I went to Peru with, we bought our first franchise together, and we started hatching plans to scale. And I wanted to mention about scaling specifically as it relates to two things. First is the way the bees scale their empire, which is that they create a clone. And so the way it works in the bee world is, if a beehive is very successful and they gather so much money from their habitat, except they call it honey, and they store it in their money bank, except they call it the honey bank in the hive, and they're out of room, they have a choice to make. And the choice is it better to just stay here and maximize what we have? Or would it be better for half of the bees, including the successful queen bee, the super smart, super successful queen bee, leave, go to a new spot, rebuild, start over, and the remaining bees in the hive will use the banked energy that's left behind, or the banked money that's left behind, or the banked honey that's left behind, to buy time to create a new queen who begin laying eggs. And I believe that this cycle is 41 or 42 days from the time they leave and the time they make a new queen and the time that queen is fertilized and can lay new eggs. So they need 41 days worth of honey, if my memory's right on this one. And they have to be able to start over in the time of the year. And there's times of the year that this is possible, which would be like early spring, or maybe towards the peak in summer, which around here like maybe be like mid-June. But in the winter, they can't do this because there's no flowers. So if there's no energy source, if the bees leave, there's nothing to get. And that's the same thing as expanding a business into a new market where there's no money. So I'm going to compare this to business. So if I had a snowplow company and I was doing great in the winter, And I decided right after the winter that I wanted to like open up in a new city next door, 100 miles away. And I borrowed a ton of money and I bought a bunch of equipment and I got an office and a bunch of people and I parked them in this new office and I brought my new machines there all shiny and great. I burned through a lot of money till next winter, until it snowed again. And this is the inverse of the problem of that the bees have in the summer. So every business has seasonality. And I talk about this on the podcast, Lessons from Nature podcast. And I'm mentioning this as it relates to my experience in 2008, which was before I discovered the bees. But I knew this conceptually in terms of money and business, was about scaling an empire, scaling a business. And scaling a franchise in particular is the same thing as cloning DNA. So imagine a junk removal company in a market, and let's say it's successful. Let's say it's the biggest, best one. Now, the owner of that company can decide to keep trying to scale in that market, or would it be more strategic to get a foothold somewhere else and prevent another competitor from coming in by capturing market share, or a bee capturing honey share from the new market that they moved into and all the competitors there? And I, at this point in 2008, believed that we had really good systems and tools in the got junk business, both at the corporate level and also our local stuff was solid. Our processes were solid. Our technology was solid. Our people were solid. We were coming off a recession. So this was the time to double down and grow, because other people were shrinking and failing. And what I'm trying to relate this scaling concept to is that the human business of scaling a business into a new market is essentially cloning all your processes, all your procedures, all your KPIs. Everything that was working in market A, you try to clone, including the people, if you can, in market B, so that you can recreate the efficiencies you have in market A. And sometimes it takes a while to get the kinks out because the people are different. People are new. And usually training is usually not as well thought out as other things. So it takes a while to get people up to speed due to lack of training. So this is a way to explain scaling as it relates to the bee business of making honey and the human business of making money.